Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Jannette Romero, and I am a senior immigration attorney at McEntee Law Group. So, welcome to First Fridays, where we break down the most important immigration news and updates from the past few months. So, before we get started, I just wanted to mention cold and flu season is in full swing, and I have been fighting off a cold for the past week. So, I apologize if I have to stop at any point to drink some water. Um, Another quick disclaimer, while I am a licensed attorney, this video is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. So if you have any questions about your personal situation, please contact us at info@mcenteelaw.com. All right, so we can go ahead and jump right in. So we have a few things to cover today, some very recent developments, and some that have kind of transpired over the last month since our last live. So the first one is USCIS issued a policy memo on December 2nd, this week actually, which effective immediately basically places a processing hold on all pending benefit requests. This means all pending applications for citizens or those that were born in one of the countries listed in Trump's presidential proclamation. This is a travel ban from June 2025. It also calls for a re-review of all approved benefits for foreign nationals from the travel ban countries if the foreign national entered the US on or after January 20th, 2021. So this seemingly includes all 19 countries mentioned in the presidential proclamation, not only those that are currently under the full suspension. The memo also pauses all pending asylum applications, regardless of the individual's country of nationality, pending a comprehensive review. So, what does this mean? For individuals in these three affected categories, their applications, including green card applications, will undergo a review of eligibility and admissibility, including a potential interview or re interview. The focus of this is really going to be to identify potential security or public safety risks. The memo didn't provide an exhaustive list of all the applications that are going to be impacted, so it's possible that even employment-based petitions be affected as well. So if you fall into any of these affected groups, you should prepare for additional vetting and the potential for an interview. We would recommend talking to an experienced immigration attorney if you have concerns that may impact your eligibility or admissibility. Um, the next thing is the Department of State actually announced that it's expanding online presence review for H-1B visa applicants and their H-4 dependents. So this is starting December 15th of this year. The Department of State is going to look at public-facing social media and online presence when evaluating visa applications. So people who are applying for initial H-1B or H-4 visas or even renewing them will face greater scrutiny. This is something that's already in place for those that are applying for the F, M, and J non-immigrant visas. Basically, your public online activity could potentially influence visa approval. This is adding uncertainty and some risk to the application process. So if you are in H-1B or H-4 status, you really need to review your public social media and online presence. The Department of State actually took steps to explicitly state that all applicants are instructed to set their social media profiles to public. Therefore, you should remove any content that could raise concerns. You should also ensure that your application documentation matches what's publicly visible online. So if you're an H-1B visa holder whose work site is in New York City, for example, and you're consistently posting yourself on a beach in Los Angeles, this could even raise concerns on whether you're working pursuant to your petition and your approved LCA. Something that's seemingly innocent can have an impact if it can potentially call into question your compliance. So please consider talking to an immigration lawyer if you have questions on this. Um, Again, it's just very important to know what's on your social media and go back as far as you can to see and make sure that everything that's on there is appropriate and is not going to raise any concerns or be in any issue. Um, okay, I also wanted to touch on some other updates that have transpired over the last couple of months since we've had our last live. These are not as recent, but still good reminders. So, USCIS ended the longstanding automatic extension of work permits, EADs, for those who file timely extensions. So, previously, certain applicants with timely filed EAD renewals could continue working for up to 540 days during USCIS processing. But under the new rule, that safety net was removed. So basically, what this means is that those who rely on EADs for work authorization risk having a gap in their ability to work if USCIS processing is delayed. This is really important to note because it can create job instability, even if you applied for your renewal on time. So if you do rely on an EAD for work authorization, you need to ensure that you're filing the extension at the earliest opportunity. You need to make note of the expiration date and don't let that date get away from you, because the earlier you can apply, the better, hopefully to avoid any gap in work authorization. Some TPS updates. There's been a lot of movement and updates related to temporary protected status. And I'm just going to touch base on a few. Recently, DHS announced that it's ending TPS for Haiti, which expires on February 3rd, 2026. TPS for Burma, Myanmar has also been terminated, and beneficiaries of this have been granted a transitional period through January 26th of next year. South Sudan was also terminated, and its transitional period was granted through January 5th, 2026. So if you are an affected TPS holder, contact a qualified immigration attorney to explore what other options you have, lawful status options, before the termination date. It's really important to have the lines of communication open with your attorney if you are a TPS holder, because there's a lot of movement going on with TPS from various countries. So please ensure that you do that and you are talking to your immigration attorney so that you are aware of everything that's going on. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, because we are a Chicago-based law firm, we have to take a moment to touch on the immigration enforcement activity that's been occurring over the last few months in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. So, starting in fall of 2025, federal immigration agencies, including ICE, have increased enforcement activities across Chicago. Reports describe agents using helicopters, tear gas, smoke grenades. We've seen agents patrolling neighborhoods with military-style weapons. There have been raids on apartment complexes and throughout neighborhoods, even near schools. So although this has been occurring and it's not necessarily new, we did want to address it. During this time, it's extremely important to know your rights, not to answer questions, not to open your door without knowing the legal guidance, and remembering that you have the right to remain silent and to consult an attorney. It's also very important to keep a plan in place, have important documents handy, have trusted contacts for emergencies, and also to record any enforcement events that you see if you feel safe to do so. Please seek immediate legal help or connect with local community organizations for support, advice, and rapid response assistance if you need. Something that's been really amazing to see is that Chicago communities have mobilized to provide know your rights information, volunteer support, and rapid response networks that protect the local families and children. And it really shows that local organizing can help reduce some of the harm, even during aggressive enforcement. Really been amazing to see how the community has come together during this time. So I wanted to, touch base on that. One additional thing is holiday travel. Since we are in the month of December, everyone is getting ready to potentially travel internationally to visit family during the holidays. We wanted to just touch base on this quickly. If you are a foreign national that's planning to travel internationally this holiday season, please make sure you have all the necessary documentation before you leave the US. Ensure your passport has the required validity, that your visa is valid for reentry, and that you've discussed any specific circumstances related to your immigration matters. So if you have a case pending with USCIS, this is really important to make sure that you talk to your attorney before you leave the US so that you're you're fully aware of any potential risks in traveling, because really the increased scrutiny at the US consulates and ports of entry can lead to less travel flexibility than we've potentially seen in other years, depending on your specific situation. So, one potential situation is if you need to obtain a new visa stamp during this international trip, or if you've had any interaction with law enforcement, you really should consult your attorney prior to traveling so that you can be prepared and are fully aware of the potential risks or potential delays, because it is going to be important to expect and prepare for increased security screening procedures and also potential visa issuance delays. Again, if you have any questions on travel and want to know about potential risks for your specific situation, you can always reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to assist in that. And that's actually a really good segue into our audience questions, because the first one actually asks, I'm traveling outside the US for the holidays and I'm currently on a work visa. What are some things I should keep in mind? So just to reiterate, it's really important to make sure you have all of your documents organized and they're all valid for the period that you'll be outside the US and valid for reentry. So make sure you have your USCIS approval notice, your visa is valid, you have your passport is valid for the required amount of time, and also if there's anything specific to your situation, pending applications, any interactions with law enforcement, all of this needs to be run through your attorney just so that you're aware, as we mentioned, any potential risks involved. So those are the things that you should keep in mind. Um, Also, additional screening and questioning when re-entering the US. This is probably something that we've already seen kind of be increased over the past few months, but also during the holidays, we anticipate it will be similar or even more so, increased questioning at the port of entry. So just be aware and be prepared for that. Okay. Next question. Should I remove certain social media posts from my accounts before applying for a visa? I would always err on the side of caution. So if there is a certain social media post that you're unsure could potentially be foreseen as an issue, or, something that might be politically charged, or um, anything that kind of gives you pause, like should or should I not remove this, I would probably err on the side of caution and remove it. You're going to want to make sure that your online presence is quote unquote clean and is not, any cause for concern. All right. Next question. How do I know if I need to consult an immigration lawyer for my petition? Can I file a visa petition myself? So, as an immigration attorney who has been practicing for over 10 years, I would always recommend consulting an immigration attorney, and there are a few reasons why. Um, some forms, although they might seem pretty straightforward, some of them are, but there are a lot of complexities within the system, especially now with the second reason would be increased scrutiny. So, complexity of the system, increased scrutiny, these two are going to be the primary reasons why I would always recommend at least speaking to an immigration attorney before submitting anything to the immigration authorities on your own. Um, it's just, there's a lot of risks associated potentially, we have the practical experience on what happens when you check this box, what happens, there's timing concerns, there's um, specific updates that happen very frequently, especially right now, that could impact your filing. So always, always, I would recommend to at least speak to an immigration attorney before filing anything on your own. All right, I think we have one more question. What should I do if ICE comes to my workplace? Okay, so we've seen this happen a lot, particularly in Chicago. There's been a lot of ICE activity. So the main thing is to remain calm. You have the right to remain silent. You don't have to answer any questions or show any documents. Um, Definitely, don't run away, don't interfere. It's really important to stay calm. And if you're ultimately detained, you do have the right to ask to speak to an attorney. And also, don't sign anything until you're able to speak to an attorney so that you fully understand what it is that you're being asked to sign. Um, that is probably the main advice that we give and things to remember if ICE does come to your workplace, or if you have any, interactions with ICE, whether that be on the street, at your workplace. And if you're an employer specifically, it's really important to have a plan in place and communicate this plan to your employees. This is something that we can help with and provide guidance on. So if you're interested in this, please contact us if you have any questions, because it's definitely something that we have been and continue to assist businesses on. Okay. So I don't believe there's any more questions. Let me take one final look. Okay. So I know we've covered a lot of information. I've tried to go through it quickly. Again, if there's any questions on anything that you've heard today, please do let us know, and we can assist you. So I know, the last few months have been tough. We've seen stricter work permit rules. We've seen increased enforcement, increased scrutiny at the port of entry and at consulates, TPS terminations, more H-1B scrutiny. It's a lot to take in, but there have been some wins in there too. Specifically in Chicago, and in cities like Chicago, we're coming together to protect one another, which is great to see. There's also been lawsuits filed to challenge some of the immigration changes, including the new H-1B $100,000 fee, which we'll likely talk about in more depth during the next few lives. But, these wins really show that progress is possible. And even when it feels overwhelming, a lot of the times it does. But we're always here to help. So hang in there, stay informed, know your rights, lean on your community, and again, reach out to us if you have any questions or need any immigration assistance.